How your trail elbow works in the golf swing, so your right elbow for the right-hander, plays a huge role in your ability to strike that ball in a powerful and consistent manner. If you feel like this is something that's affecting your golf swing, stay tuned. This video is really going to help. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Kerrod here in the studio at Joondalup Resort. Before we get stuck in, as always, if you haven't already, please go down below, click subscribe, click that little bell so you get notified of all the great content coming your way. Alrighty, in today's lesson, we're going to be talking all about the trail elbow and how that should work in the golf swing. So that is my right elbow for the right-hander. So what we're going to do is we're going to first of all show you what a proficient orthodox motion with the trail elbow is and how it should work, and then we're going to kind of identify maybe some of the areas where most players go wrong. So for example, if I set up to the golf ball in the down the line view, and this is my trail elbow in this position here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left hand off the golf club, and we're just going to isolate the feeling of what this is going to do. And as we do so, I'm just going to talk you through the movement. So the trail elbow in the address position here should have a slight amount of flex. One of the reasons being, if we get it too strong and too dominating on top, that starts to internally rotate the shoulder, and it's going to start to cause some issues with that takeaway, causing it to get off plane very early. Now, the reason that we want it to be relatively on plane would be that it just means that it's going to be easier to return that golf club back to the golf ball in more of a consistent manner. Now, don't get me wrong, I know players swing with the golf club working a long way out and also in and can play really high level golf, but this is more of just a generalized template for you if you're struggling with your ball striking. From the face-on view, a soft right arm or elbow in this position here, we can see that the inside of the elbow is facing the camera right here. Now that would be very different from if it was too strong and dominating on top. So that's checkpoint number one. Checkpoint number two would be when the club shaft is parallel to the ground. So from the address position, what we're doing with the elbow here is there's still softening to it. You can see I've got a little bit more flex in it from the address position. As I've done so, I've hinged my wrist, but if we look at that arm, we're really just going to use the reference of the seam line of my shirt. So just where you see my left index kind of running down the side of my body, that's going to be our reference of position. In this position here, some of the areas that we see is we would see a pulling of that arm, sort of this lawnmower action where the right arm would get stuck behind me, and then also too much of a lifting in this direction. So from the address position with the soft trail arm, as we set it into the first parallel here, we can see that it's got a little bit of flex inside that seam line of the shirt. Now, as we then move up into the next stage of the swing, what I would like to see is within reason, this still in line with the seam of your shirt. Far too often, we will see players get this trail elbow way behind their body, and you can see the sort of effect that would have on the shaft, the wrists, and the direction in which the club face is aiming. So from address, soft flex inside the shirt seam, to the top, still inside the shirt seam, and then from as we get to the top, yeah, it's going to get a little bit further behind us, but then as it starts back down, we want it to get back in front of that shirt seam. As we then get down into the last parallel position before impact, you can see this arm is getting more in front of the body and then moving past as we strike the golf ball. So let's run through those in a face-on view. So from address, softening, first parallel, still soft. At max, what we would be looking for here is 90 degrees of flex to the top. If it's too wide, we're not going to be able to create as much speed. Too bent, that's going to cause some issues with consistency. So from the address, as we swing to the top, you'll also see that this trail elbow by this position, it's pointing down towards the ground. It's not out, back and behind me, and certainly not up towards the sky. Slightly down to the ground in this position. As we then start down and the club works into this last parallel position, this trail elbow begins to move in front of my body. So that means the arms are unloading off the chest, getting back. And by this stage here, this is the angle that you'll see all the tour players get into, the hands in front of the right leg, the right elbow somewhere in front of the body, certainly not behind, and certainly not angled or rotated towards the target, because that's going to have a huge effect on that club shaft plane and also the club face. So elbow soften in front, then continues to move in front as we strike the golf ball. You can see here that my hands are in front of the club head, This looks like a strong structure with the lead arm and the shaft almost forming one straight line. Now, if you're a scooper of the golf ball, by this stage here, this elbow would have rotated in an outward direction. The club would have caught up and you'd get this very bunched up look. If you freeze frame yourself, you struggle with your contact, there is a good chance at impact you are in this position, which then follows on to a big chicken wing action through the ball. After we've got to this position here, through the ball into impact, hands leaning forward, elbow in front, past the golf ball, we would like to see this begin to rotate up towards the sky. Certainly still not facing the camera and definitely not rolled over like this. So as we set up to the golf ball, we're going to swing to the top, that elbow is working correctly, down into this position in front of the body, through the golf ball, starts to rotate up and then fold up towards the sky. So that is how we would like to see the trail elbow work, and also some common examples of where players go wrong. Now, what is a great exercise to train this? Well, very simply, one of the key exercises that I get a lot of players to do is do a reverse grip backswing. Quite simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up to a golf ball in a normal fashion, and then all you're going to do is you're going to get your front hand, so my left hand for the right hander, and place it below. Now what happens as we then swing the golf club back, because our lead hand is at the bottom of the club, it causes our right arm to fold quite early. Now as we do that, it stays in front of the body and it's going to encourage it to get dragged more in line and in front coming into impact. If I was to do the opposite, it's too easy for me to start pulling this trail arm behind me. You can see the elbow starts to fly, and that's going to cause your ball striking issues. So let's show you from the face on. Normal grip, change hands, so my left hand goes low, make a backswing. That's going to cause this right arm to move into a much more functional position, down into the golf ball, and then follow through. Now the follow through part's going to feel very weird, but you can simply, if you struggle with this feeling, just change your grip, make some backswings, switch your hands back over, and then follow through, and that'll give you a great feeling of a controlled motion of that trail elbow. Let's do it from the down the line view. That felt really good. So if you're struggling with how your trail arm moves in the golf swing, having an awareness and understanding of how your elbow should move plays a hugely important role in you being able to create a little bit more of a predictable and consistent strike on that golf ball. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please ask me any comments if you've got any whatsoever. I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. But until next time, I'm Kerrod. Thanks for watching.